If things couldn't get any worse, they just did. If you don't know, there's been a lot of bad campaigns on crowdfunding lately for board games, on Kickstarter, even on Gamefound, and to a lesser extent to all the other smaller ones that really just don't have all of the traction, but do get a lot of these really edge case indie ones that sometimes struggle. So it's been really bad lately, and honestly, this video needed to be made, and I know I'm going to be stepping on a few toes, but I really want to discuss this with you guys, the backers, kind of explicitly. So we're going to be kind of upfront about what's going on here, about the issues that are currently being faced, around new signs that this is still a scam, and more. And then, of course, what we can do about it. What are the options available to us? We're going to be talking about how bad Kickstarter is. We're going to be talking about how Gamefound is slightly better, and we're going to be talking about, I guess, the current state of the crowdfunding board game space and how it's affecting everybody that's actually trying to do a good job here. So let's go ahead and dive into the details right now. This is not a sponsored video, however. Into the AM shirt, new one. I always like to show it off if I'm wearing a new one. Really like this one, it's really cool. There is a 10% discount code if you ever want to use it. It's linked in every one of my descriptions. But again, they did not sponsor this video specifically. Toyzzo game table. If you didn't know, I made a whole video on this. I'll go ahead and link to it down in the description below as well. It has a big picture that says lies on it. Okay, I called it out even at the time. I was able to help many of you. Many of you actually went on the comment section and shared my video, allowed other people to find out, and I saved you guys from being scammed. And for that, I am so glad. But I am pretty much getting close to 100% certain on this one, guys. And it just got way worse. Now, if you recall, and this is a quick synopsis, so if you don't watch that video, which it does go over the whole thing, like it is a very exhaustive video that tells you everything you need to know about this Toyzzo game table campaign. But if not, quick summary is this is a Chinese company that has zero history and has never existed before, though they claim they apparently have, though everything's new. They had a website that's barely anything. That just reuses pictures from the campaign that only just recently was made. It was, in other words, it was stood up randomly saying, hey, here's a game table and it's going to have all these features at a super cheap price. And then when people started asking questions, they started being like, oh, well, yeah, I guess not, because they have no idea what they're doing. They tried to say they'll deliver to places like Walmart even where you can pick it up. That was literally said at one point. It's crazy that this was ever allowed on Kickstarter. A ton of you guys reported that. We're going to be talking about that in a moment, but I wanted to update you guys because this is the current website, the one that I showed during the campaign. Apparently, this company, I put that in quotes, this scam, I'm just going to call it how I see it personally and how I think a lot of you guys see it as well, couldn't even bother to have their website up for more than a month. They paid a month's worth of money to GoDaddy to randomly have this Toyzzo.co spin it up real quick, a very basic website that had nothing, no information, no anything, just for the campaign. And now that the campaign's over, after that month, they literally didn't even pay for a second month. It's gone. They don't even have a website. This company is not real. It never was. They use their friends and family and employees to randomly do a thing and try to fake it out as people, like a random people, like an event that they did where they brought people in. Oh, they brought their employees in. They eventually admitted that. It's just, this is such a clear, misuse of information, a misleading information, and they gained $426,610, 1,393 backers, and Kickstarter allowed this. Again, many of you reported this to Kickstarter. Kickstarter looked into it and said it was fine. You want to know why Kickstarter said it was fine? Because they got 10% of your money. They got 10% of that 426,610. And as long as they got that, they're happy. And while you'll never get your game table, or even if somehow, in some way you do, you're not going to be happy with the quality of it. It's not going to impress you, that's for sure. It just, even if this was a legit thing, it's not enough. We need to instill the fact that these companies have to do more. So it's really sad that Kickstarter said this is totally fine. They are okay with you getting scammed. They are okay with you getting gypped. They're okay with something as grossly, obviously wrong as this. You guys could report this now. You guys could email Kickstarter now and say, hey, guess what? This website doesn't even exist anymore. They faked their website just like we said they would, and now it's gone because they can't even be bothered to pay for a second month for a website. And they still won't do anything about it. Kickstarter doesn't care. They don't care at all about you, about your money, about your security in getting products. They just want their 10% cut, and that's all. That's all they want. And it's really sad to see that. Okay, so where does it leave us? Well, it leaves us with Gamefound as being the clear alternative, right? I actually spoke with Gamefound a little bit about this and just kind of threw some feelers out there. And from what I can tell, I'm not going to do any direct quotes or anything like that, because it was really off the cuff when I was talking to them. But what they said is that they've been looking into stuff like this, right? And they definitely don't want this kind of thing on their platform. Now, that's something I think any company would technically say. But I do want to believe them that, hey, guess what? If something like Toyzzo came to Gamefound, they would be like, no, this ain't cutting it. You need to do more. Okay? So that's reassuring for me as a backer, for somebody who just today spent hundreds of dollars finalizing pledge managers. I am very interested in the security of that money, that I can actually get my product, and that I'm working with companies that actually will deliver it, and on a platform that hosts board games that actually are going to get delivered. So, that being said, I can't just fundamentally tell you to go to Gamefound either, because the problem is not everything is as obvious as Toyzzo, right? Mythic Games had a lot of people suspecting, but nobody knowing. Like, Toyzzo isn't even trying, right? Like, they don't even have a website, right? But there are others that actually are a lot better at faking things, or lying to you, or misleading you, or something like that. And sadly, you'll find that on Gamefound too. For instance, here's Ravage Star Tabletop Miniature Wargame. This is coming out in 3 days. This is not an issue. I very much think you will get this game. This is run by Mini Wargaming, and Lazy Squire Games does their miniatures and their art for them. Okay, so they sculpt them, they work with eStar to get it manufactured so that they get final proofs and stuff like that, and then they get it out the door. Okay? There are 11,379 people waiting for this game, right? It's going to launch in 3 days. I'm going to link down to this down below. That's super cool. This is their second one that they're doing. And so that's really cool that they're doing that, right? They've obviously done a lot of art. They've obviously worked on these minis a lot. In fact, if you look at the previous one, 95% shipped, right? They are actually delivering and then returning it. So miniwargaming.com, they are doing it right. They're delivering and then launching a new one. That is awesome. That's really great. And you'll see here a ton of final production plastic minis that are completely done. They're good to go on that. They did a whole bunch of work on this, a whole bunch, to get these all finished and finalized. And that's really great. The reason I bring this up is the Lazy Squire Games part, not the My Mini Wargame or the Mini Wargaming part. So if we go here to Wild Ascent, Levon Rising, this is actually by Lazy Squire Games. You might also know them from Storm Thunder, another game that's been delayed for years and years and years. One thing that's interesting here, this is update number 37, and this is on October 31st. Now if we go to the project here, I'm going to load this real quick. Sorry I didn't have this loaded before. It'll just take a moment. And we go to rewards. We see here it was expected to deliver April 2022. Obviously, they missed that. So what's going on with this? Well, it says right here, given how late we are, it would come as no surprise that Wave 1 is taking longer than we originally expected and planned. Yeah, very true. So how is this company that is working with other companies to do their art and minis, and they're just zooming those along, those are delivering just fine, those are great, yet their own stuff isn't really delivering, and in fact hasn't delivered for a long time? Well, it turns out it's miniatures. Miniatures were the issue here. But with the miniatures finally back on the right track, everything will be able to fall back into place in production. And look at this. You get renders, not minis, right? In other words, hey, we met with Longpack and Essen, and that's their update. Their update is we met with Longpack and Essen, and minis are finally going forward. The same company that did all of these minis and was able to deliver them and develop them and design them and get them through production can't seem to do it on their own stuff. So let's look at some of the comments here that I think show really good. So this guy asked, guys, wanted to ask somebody who is familiar with the legal stuff if I can somehow make LSG disclose their financial standpoint to get any formally binding declaration on the status of both the Wild Ascent and Storm Thunder projects. And then some guy, which is his online name, says, crowdfunding has really evolved around the idea of raising funds with no legal liability and practically zero accountability. Reputation is really the only thing on the line. So they have two very, very past due games. And yet they keep doing this other stuff. And that other stuff seems to be getting a lot of priority because it's actually being delivered for these other companies. Meanwhile, they're chasing that and getting paid for that and getting money for that. But the stuff that you gave them money for, which a guy in these comments said, I've had $1,500, $1,500 of my dollars to Lazy Squire Games, and they've delivered nothing from it. No Storm Thunder, no Wild Ascent, Levon Rising, right? So there's an issue here, but they're not making any progress around that. Later on, Drew said, they are spinning their wheels. The upcoming Ravage Star campaign is what they have been working on. The reason the minis are not ready for this is due to the fact that they have been prioritized Ravage Star over other games. So I'm going to stop right there and just say that obviously this is the issue, right? They have a miniature team that works on sculpting, works on design, works on finalizing minis, doing all of that, the artwork, and that is falling behind on Storm Thunder. It's falling behind on Wild Ascent, and yet it's blazing fast for the other companies that they work with. So they're definitely prioritizing the new stuff and not delivering the old stuff, right? So that's obviously an issue. Now, what he says afterwards is, and Gamefound should absolutely be blamed for allowing this behavior. This is kind of a stopping point here, where I kind of lead back to what I was saying before. I would love to say, go to Gamefound, they care, they're perfect in every way. But the problem is, this isn't black and white. The problem is, not everything is as black and white as Toyzzo, where it's pretty much obviously like textbook scam stuff, right? Like, this is something that is nuanced. It's something that's difficult to really navigate. But there's obviously some issue going on where there are multiple years and years and years of delay just for the Wave 1 stuff, not the Wave 2 stuff, of Lazy Squire Games' actual product that they took your money from. But when companies give them money, not you, but companies give them money, they'll deliver. I don't know if there's a contract. I don't know if they're just chasing whatever pays right now. And right now, Levon Rising ain't paying, but Mini Wargaming is. So Mini Wargaming gets the focus until somebody else pays them. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But the worry is that they don't have the money for this anymore. And honestly, they shouldn't. I'll explain. So, for instance, in this, they made $809,000. Now, the $809,000 is now years old. And the Storm Thunder, even older than that, right? So years and years ago. So if they just put that in an account to sit there and rot for years until they're actually able to make Storm Thunder, then that's a waste of money. They should have invested it, put it in a CD or something, right? I mean, like, you don't just let it sit there. You don't put it under your mattress. But if they did that, then that isn't something you agreed to have them, like, invested in a volatile market or anything like that either, right? Like, they should just actually make the game and deliver it. But if they didn't do that and they didn't invest it, then that means they've been spending it, right? Which means it's gone. So they have to do this other work for miniwargaming.com and all these other companies to actually be able to fund Storm Thunder, because that money's long gone. It doesn't last forever. It doesn't last for a company to run for years with full-time sculptors and artists that are busy working on other stuff. Meanwhile, Wild Ascent is delayed because the sculptors and artists aren't getting their work done on the actual product that they took money from years ago. So, to an extent, I don't know what Gamefound can do for this. But it's kind of hard. It's like should they block Ravage Star, because obviously LSG is working on that instead of working on Wild Ascent? Don't know. Let me know your comments on this. It's not black and white, obviously. So I get this absolutely should be blamed for allowing this behavior. I think a lot of this kind of behavior becomes apparent over time. And that's kind of harder to block. But there's more here. So let's go ahead and discuss. All the way down here. Kuda says, guys, you have to at least give us some detail on why miniatures are still being worked on. Why did it take so long to get the masters? Why did it take you years to do this? Lazy Squire actually responds saying, honestly, it's more important that we are going to finally be done than litigating why they aren't already done yet. In other words, I'm not going to answer you why they haven't. It's more important just know that now it's going forward. Don't worry about why. I know you asked, but I'm not going to tell you. It's not important. I'm telling you, it's not important. Lazy Squire Games, and whoever wrote that, I don't care what your job is for Lazy Squire Games is. For you to say that it's not important to somebody who gave you money and you gave them nothing in return on why you couldn't give them anything in return when you said you could is appalling opinion of your backers. It is terrible. to have that sort of attitude to the people that gave you money. Kuda here gave you money years ago, and you said, I'll get you something. And you didn't. And now when he asked, hey, why didn't you get me something? He said, it's not important. Don't worry about it. Maybe it's not important to you because you've already spent his money. I don't know what you spent it on. Did you spend it on a nice team meeting, a team lunch? Did you go to a convention? Did you get your paycheck that he paid for? He helped pay for because he bought your item that you didn't deliver. And did you buy your kids a gift? Take your wife out to dinner? Buy yourself something nice? Buy some groceries? A roof over your head? All of that provided, if this is your job, by Kuda. In part. And you're saying not important. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to ask a question. I'm going to refuse to tell you an answer and tell you that it's not even important. It should not be important to you, Kuda, why I took that money, why I spent that money, and why you don't have anything in return. Appalling, appalling behavior. And these game companies do this all the time. They don't respect what backers are doing. They just have this expectation of getting money, and then you should just shut up about it while they go do whatever the heck they want with miniwargaming.com. Ridiculous. Let's go on. Asterisk here says, you realize the statement you just told us is nothing. The statement here was this, because they asked, what does this mean? And then Lazy Squire says, it means the minis are where the bottleneck still are technically until they are done, and now they are finally back on track, which again, isn't really saying anything. So this is what he says. You tell us nothing. I know you're doing it on purpose, because again, obviously they are. But no, we aren't idiots. Backers aren't stupid. When Lazy Squire Games makes comments like this, you can tell the political side of the mouth backwards talk that they're doing to ignore your question, to answer without actually answering anything, to say wasted air, meaningless stuff. Just to, again, just like that first comment said, they're just keeping things spinning, right? They are spinning their wheels. They're just pretending to answer you without actually answering you. It's not worth it to them to tell you. It's not worth it to them to explain. It's not worth it to them to apologize or take accountability or anything like that. You gave them their money. They won't give it back now. And they haven't given you a product. And as far as I can tell, they ain't focused on it either. Now, it seems that once, and this is another thing that came up a lot was, well, they're actually waiting on the miniwargaming.com, this Ravage Star, right, campaign to finish, and then they're going to get this nice paycheck from it, and then when they get paid, then they can actually go make their other stuff because they're out of money. Now, they claim that they're not out of money, but it's not like they're putting any, again, that's not really an answer because, I mean, obviously they're making money, so they're doing that, but that doesn't mean you have the money for a while to send. Does that make sense? So, yeah, what do you do? What do you do as a backer when there are readily apparent scams on Kickstarter? The Kickstarter investigates and doesn't care. You can report it, but they don't care. When there's obvious, huge issues running around on Gamefound, and yet everything that this company keeps doing or keeps helping with keeps going on Gamefound too. Now, again, it's not as black and white. Obviously, it's like, well, do you punish Mini Wargaming to do that? Honestly, I don't think they should be working with Lazy Squire Games. I don't think any company should. I think it's appalling behavior from them. I think it's disgusting how they treat their backers. And I think the amount of content from them is only trumped by Mythic Games. So what do we do? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I don't have a clear answer to this. I will say that Kickstarter sucks and Gamefound is better. I'll come out and say it right now. Gamefound is clearly better. They clearly actually have some sort of care. Now, that doesn't mean that there's some magic bullet to this problem. That doesn't mean that there's this clean and easy solution to this. But they actually care, and I appreciate that. And I know that at least I won't see a campaign like Toyzzo on there, where it's clear that everybody is from the rooftops shouting, this is a scam, and nobody does anything about it. So thankfully that. So for now, go to Gamefound. If you have a choice, go to Gamefound. That's what I'm saying right now. I'm sick and tired of Kickstarter's lack of care. Obviously, as a consumer, I don't get a choice in this, right? If product A is on there, I'm going to go there. I might not like the store, but if the product's only available at that store and I want the product, well, I either don't get the product now or I go and get the product and just say how much I dislike buying it from that store and hope that next time they can go to the other store. It's about as most as I can do. That's what I'll be doing at least. Let me know what we will be doing in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much. I know this is not a fun conversation, but I think it's an important conversation. And it's going to be something that continues to color my speech when I talk about this, when it comes to Gamefound versus Kickstarter, when it comes to crowdfunding and our safety as backers. You got to be looking out for each other. If you ever see anything I need to look into, please let me know. Reach out any way you want to, and I'll try and get to it as I can. I'm glad I was able to warn some of you guys from Toyzzo. I'm sad that they still took $400,000 from people. And I'm sad to see Lazy Squire Games continue to operate in a pathetic way. But, I mean, so is Mythic Games and everybody else. And at the end of the day, us consumers are just trying to do what we can. That's it. That's all I have. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.